Hi, I'm Dr. David Dobson. Welcome to Conversations. Today, my guest is Dr. Sourav Ray. Sourav is a professor of marketing at the Gordon S. Lang School of Business and Economics at the University of Guelph. His teaching and research experience expands over 2 decades in quantitative marketing. He obtained his PhD in marketing from University of Minnesota. Today, we will discuss Saurav's academic perspectives on the future of marketing and his advice to students and new faculty. It's a great pleasure to have you on my show, Saurav.
Thank you, David. Thank you for having me.
You have been in academia for more than 2 decades. What brought your interest to academia, Saurav?
Good question, David. See, we all are influenced by the village in which we live, right? So,
Yeah,
in my family,
yeah,
both education as
yeah,
well as teaching has been always
yeah,
been looked up to.
yeah.
My father started his own career as a professor,
Mhm.
and my sister currently is a teacher. So I come from that kind of a background. So
Nice.
and also we are also a product of circumstances, right? So
Yeah,
I mean, I uh, you know during you may not know, but I did an MS in aerospace engineering in Texas area. So and while I was doing that, I got to know some professors who are research professors and academics, well-known academics. And I think meeting them, getting to know them has sort of left kind of an impact on me, kind of a, maybe that is how a desire to be in academia also sort of came up.
okay.
And, uh, and also the other thing I want to say, when I've been thinking about it, you know, aspirations play a big role, right? And
Yeah,
in terms of aspirations, many of us attempt to leave a legacy.
yeah,
And I felt that my ability to leave a legacy
yeah.
I'll be more able to do that as an academic, okay,
Mm,
more than
nice.
in any other role.
Yeah,
So yeah, so that's it's been a great ride.
yeah,
It's time of constant learning, and of course, I I like the fact that I can have an impact which is not limited to geographical boundaries
yeah,
or even constraints of time.
yeah.
So yeah, so those are sort of what brought me to academia.
Yeah. Oh, very nice story you shared. Thank you. So I want to go back, as you mentioned, your aerospace engineering background. You started your academic journey as an aerospace engineer, but then you switched to marketing. Tell me what prompted this change.
Yeah, you will not be the first person to ask me this, and you will not be the last person to ask me
I
this.
know.
And
You're like a rocket scientist, and now
yeah,
you're doing marketing.
literally, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Of course, I cannot claim that I'll be able to connect the dots between aerospace and marketing,
Yeah.
kind of in a seamless way. No, I mean, there is nothing like that.
Yeah.
So, but really speaking, it's more of a human story. So
Yeah.
I think as we grow, as we learn, as we do things, as we engage in different endeavors, different challenges,
Yeah.
in some ways we're trying to understand and discover ourselves,
Mm.
right? So I think we cannot always pretend to know what we are good at, so we
Yes.
kind of
Yeah.
learn, and we and
Yeah.
and and many of us don't know what we really want.
Yeah.
And so you have to
It's
get
true.
in the field, get dirty, and you have to play
Yeah.
in the sandbox, to
Yeah.
really know
Yeah.
what fits you. So I guess
Yeah.
I was going through that kind of learning
Yeah.
myself
Hmm.
journey while I was doing my MS as an aerospace engineer.
Yeah.
And then suddenly I faced a fork in my life.
Okay.
One was I could continue and do my
Mm-hmm.
PhD in mechanical engineering, which
Mm-hmm.
was where I was at that time, or an opportunity came up to pursue a PhD in business administration specifically. Not so much marketing, but business administration. Now, I had a background in industrial goods. And even if I did not know much about marketing, I kind of liked that whole idea of marketing. And so I made a choice.
Okay.
And I've not regretted it. I've not regretted it. And, I mean, I like a lot of things about marketing. And I suppose initially it was the joy of discovery. Oh, they do different things than I was doing. So that got hooked me. That hooked me in. And then later on, David, as I grew as an academic, as a scholar, I guess I got to understand the sophistication of marketing, which was not clear to me earlier. I understood the sophistication of marketing. And as you may know, I sort of wear two hats, one of an economics hat, another as a marketing strategy hat. And it's been fantastic. I mean, a lot of my work is in the technology domain. And there is that little bit in me which sort of draws me towards that little bit of engineer in me. So much of the work I do, I guess, can be said to be related to engineering in some ways. I work on pricing and distribution channels. I guess some of my mathematical backgrounds from my engineering are also applied there. Again, not in a very straightforward way, but some of these thinking. So that's my journey.
Very interesting. I'm just wondering, because I know being an engineer, typically engineer work alone long hours, whereas marketing is more like people person, you interacting with people, consumers. So I guess you start finding out that you are more people person than being alone.
I mean, now that you have said it, when I used to spend a lot of time in a lab, which was in the basement. So I think I've been elevated from there. There's a lot of merit to that.
So I want to ask you some question about marketing. So often marketing is thought in terms of cool commercial or logo brand. What is marketing actually?
Right. So, I mean, I think commercials and branding, these are definitely a big part of what marketing does. I mean, no question about it. But I think when we think of marketing, we probably need to take a slightly broader view. And I mean, and we try to teach this in the MBA programs, but you kind of understand this more when you get into the field. So my perspective has been, a good marketer really is able to understand the business from the customer's perspective. So what is the business? What does the business do? What are the contributors to the business success or failure? When you try to understand those answers to those questions from a customer's perspective, then you become a true marketer. So, we talk about marketing is a process, right? By which you discover, create value, communicate value, exchange value. But I think at the core of it is that idea. And then, of course, everybody talks about 4 Ps of marketing, product, price, promotion, place. These are just a convenient way to talk about what marketers do. But the moment you start looking at the business from the customer's perspective, you'll realize that there is a wide swath of activities, firm activities that marketers do, starting from innovation, starting from managing distribution channels, engaging in collaboration. I mean, of course, the promotion and setting prices and exchanges, those are, of course, all there. But there's a whole host of things you do. And the last thing that I want to mention, and that sometimes gets lost, the marketers do all these things, but marketers will also have to do these things efficiently.
Okay.
And so that means marketers must also look at potential areas where efficiency is lost. Efficiencies can be lost in having ineffective contracts. It can be lost in a lot of conflicts and disputes with your business partners. So marketers also have to keep those things in mind. So it's a pretty big eclectic world out there. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Quite often students like the idea of marketing, and when they start taking course in marketing, they think it will be like an easy course, but then they realize that it has a lot of data. So I want to ask you, academic researchers often use quantitative or psychological approaches to marketing. So why is marketing is a quantitative discipline?
Right. And, I mean, first of all, I look upon quantitative marketing from two different lenses.
Okay.
One is an empirical lens, and another is a theoretical lens.
Okay.
So what do you mean by the empirical lens? In empirical lens, in one way to think about is where data is coded as numerics.
Right.
And then you are, the typical questions you're trying to understand is, and this data can come from multiple sources. I mean, it can simply be decisions like prices. It can be outcomes like sales. It can also be perceptions that you capture through questionnaires. So, but the idea behind that empirical approach is these are numerics, and you try to get insights from it. The other side is theoretical. And the theoretical side, it's you use the tools of mathematics, the quantitative theory, tools of mathematics to understand human and firm behavior based on certain models of behavior, certain assumptions about human beings. So these are the two lenses through which I see quantitative marketing. Now, if you look at why, you asked a question, why marketing is so quantitative, right? And there may be people who will disagree. They will say that marketing is not just quantitative, and I agree. But if you look at why many marketers prefer quantitative data, I think it is because the data, the quantitative data, gives some evidentiary basis upon which to make decisions. So you can have multiple decisions, right? So how much to change prices by? You can even estimate demand, and therefore find out how demand might be sensitive to your promotions. So these are things. I mean, it's not that these would be absolutely correct, but within an area you can do that. So I think that's why quantitative marketing has a lot of traction among practicing marketers.
So I want to ask you then, how does the qualitative research fit in marketing?
Yeah. And, qualitative research techniques have particular strengths. And the strengths of qualitative research techniques are they appropriately applied, they give you a window into the human psyche. So, and the human psyche, is important for specific decisions human beings. It may not always be easy to get with quantitative data approaches. And a lot of the time, these qualitative approaches would be manifested as interpretive research, where you are trying to interpret not just behavior, but also attitudes. So the thing is, a qualitative researcher will tell you that there is a lot of discipline needed. It is not just I wake up in the morning and I interpret something and put it out there. There is a rigorous set of processes that you have to follow. And so qualitative researchers, why do people pay more for one brand than the other? Well,
Yes. Yeah.
maybe how they construct the role of that brand in their life.
Yeah.
Maybe how they see the brand will
Yeah.
make them look among their peers, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how will
Yeah.
you get that in
Yeah.
quantitative research? For
Yeah.
that, focus group, in-depth interviews, these sort of techniques might actually be very useful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so qualitative research is actually has its own place. Now, of course,
Yeah.
I don't see the qualitative and quantitative research sort of uh, as separate entities, because both of them are really trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
They're trying to understand, customer behavior. They are trying to, in some ways, helping us predict, design, plan for the
Yeah.
future. So yeah, I think there can be a lot of synergies between the two. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Traditionally, when people think of marketing is, a lot of human touch, human interaction. With the rise of artificial intelligence, how is marketing research changing?
Yeah. Yeah, that's I don't know. I mean, it's clearly a $1 trillion question if you look at NVIDIA's market evaluation, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So
tough. Yeah.
so I mean, um, okay. So think about it this way:
Yeah.
any human beings
Yeah.
take, or
Yeah.
any firms take,
Yeah.
that needs data,
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
So one part of AI gets that information from different
Okay.
sources.
Yeah.
Now, decisions will also need that information to be processed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And AI tools more and
Mm.
more are getting more
Yeah.
efficient at
Yeah.
processing that
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
So clearly, I mean,
Yeah.
if you think about how
Hmm.
decisions can be facilitated by AI, there
Yeah.
is it's almost a moot point to say, of course, decisions will be affected by AI tools that are available.
Hmm.
Certainly, I agree.
Hmm. Hmm.
And certainly many traditional marketing jobs
Yeah.
that were in
Yeah.
analysis jobs, coding jobs, those will still be affected, uh,
Hmm.
are being affected by AI,
Yeah.
certainly.
Yeah.
Um, and that's a new world we have to live in. Now, one, but it's not all so
Yeah.
simple. I'm still learning, so it's
Hmm.
difficult for me to pinpoint, but let me point
Mm.
out a couple of things
Okay.
about the potential impact of AI. One
Hmm.
is, if you follow the chatter, a lot of
Hmm.
companies are
Hmm.
struggling to
Hmm. Hmm.
adopt AI.
Hmm. Hmm.
And we were in a workshop recently last year, and we were talking from some large banks.
Hmm.
Here they say that their uh, company as a whole are struggling in adopting
Hmm.
AI
Hmm.
in their processes. Well,
Hmm.
part of the reason is there is a lot of skepticism. It's like a black box.
Okay.
So
Okay.
so the decision makers cannot connect the dots as to
Okay.
what is happening. So there is that
Okay.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And of course, there are movement trying to open that black box and give the decision makers a little more
Yeah.
comfort
Yeah.
in calling the shots.
Yeah.
But then the other thing that is not as well recognized, David, and I think it's also
Okay.
important, is the output of the AI tools
Yeah.
are dependent on the quality of the input data. So I think going forward, I think marketers will have to, at least these are the two things I see at a
Yeah.
very operational level. They
Yeah.
have to deal with. One is adoption, how to overcome, skepticism within companies,
Yeah.
these, and the other is ensuring quality.
Yeah.
And these are interlinked, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
one fits the other.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I see kind of a dynamic period kind of evolving.
Yeah.
Are unexpected events can also happen. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you,
Yeah.
we did a project in the early days of data scraping
Yeah.
from the internet, and we
Yeah.
found that the companies, when they figured out we were
Yeah.
scraping the data, they would change the layout of their websites, and
Yeah.
so we would not get the right data. That is
Yeah.
not something we had anticipated.
Right.
So there
Yeah.
is, so there
Yeah.
is this whole notion of who owns the data, what is the value of the data, valuation
Right.
of the data,
Yeah.
potential competitive implications, a
Yeah.
bunch of
Yeah.
uncertainties. So just because the
Yeah.
data is out
Yeah.
there does not mean it is necessarily available.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's like some ethical concern.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that leads me to ask you next question. What is your advice to students who wish to study marketing?
Okay, that's a that's a that's a tough question, right? So I'll give a very generic answer, okay, and
Yeah.
then I'll say something a little more specific about the marketing discipline.
Yeah.
Generic answer to any student that I will say is, when you start studying something, keep your aspirations high.
Okay.
Keep your aspirations high. So whatever be the aspirations, don't aim for the average.
Yeah.
Aim for high and be happy with where you land up. So I
Okay.
think that. The second thing I want to say for any student
Yeah.
is that, look, failures and
Mhm.
tough times
Mhm.
are part and parcel of life.
Yeah.
They help you grow
Mhm.
and they help you learn.
Mhm.
So don't get too disheartened if you
Mhm.
have not been able
Mhm.
to achieve what you thought you should. Maybe
Yeah.
there is a good reason for it.
Yeah.
Maybe you are better off doing something else, or
Yeah.
maybe there is something that you can learn from that.
Yeah.
So, and I keep saying this as much as I can, be humble
Okay.
and adopt a learning attitude.
Mm.
There is always
Mm.
something to learn. So that would be a generic kind of,
Yeah.
and also I will add to that, I suppose,
Mm.
that we live in an unprecedentedly fast
Yeah.
changing
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
So you have to adapt. Nothing in
Yeah.
life is
Yeah.
permanent, right? So you have to
Yeah.
adapt.
Yeah.
Whatever you grew up with,
Yeah.
if that's not turning out, adapt and
Yeah.
do something else.
Yeah.
So these are generic. And for marketing students, I
Yeah.
do have one thing that I really want to say, that, go out there, get in the field,
Yeah.
talk to customers,
Yeah.
talk to sellers,
Yeah.
talk to dealers,
Yeah.
just talk with them.
Yeah.
And that I say because
Yeah.
no matter all this talk about experiential education,
Uh-huh.
there is no substitute for
Mm.
going out there and trying to connect the dots.
Yeah.
Classes in marketing will expose students to
Yeah.
theories, frameworks, ways of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But then I would say take it upon yourself
Yeah.
to go out in the field and
Okay.
connect the dots to make that learning come alive.
Right.
That cannot be done in the classroom, and
Yeah.
marketing is very unique in that respect.
Yeah.
Marketing is all around us.
Yeah.
So there is that kind of, easy way to make the type 1 mistake. Oh,
Mm.
I understand marketing when I actually don't.
Yeah.
The only way to test that would be to go
Yeah.
talk
Yeah.
and expand your horizon. So
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Well said. I want to ask you something for new faculty. I know that for as a faculty, there's a lot of pressure, not only just to teach, but also publish and do research. So,
mhm.
what is your advice to new faculty?
so I hope, first of all, I hope that anyone wishing to enter academia will actually do their homework. So get into it with your eyes open. There are lots of
Yeah.
pros, but there are a lot of challenges as well.
Hmm.
And I think one thing I hope new academics understand, that that in academia, in scholarship,
Yeah.
um, unlike in practice,
Yeah.
there is a premium on speed. In
Mhm.
academia, there is a
Mm.
premium on contribution.
Mm.
There is a premium on contribution.
Mhm.
And some might say that means quality, whatever you
Mhm.
call it, contribution, how you contribute, and in an academic, in a scholarly way, there is
Okay.
a premium for that.
Mhm.
You don't win by just doing things faster, you
Mhm.
win by doing things well.
Okay.
And there is a reason for that.
Mm.
The reason for that, if you look, and this is why you need to think about it before
Yeah.
you begin, that the real currency in academia is reputation and renown.
Mhm.
That is the real currency. You might have a reputation among scholars,
Yeah.
among students, among
Yeah.
peers.
Right.
That is the real currency that you have,
Mm.
and you cannot generate that
Mhm.
just with volume.
Yeah. That's
And
true.
so,
Yeah.
you know, and related to that, young
Yeah.
scholars, I mean,
Yeah.
and this is a good news, bad news kind of a thing, that no matter at what stage you are,
Yeah.
these debate between quality and quantity
Mhm.
will dog you at
Yeah.
every stage of your career.
Yeah.
It's never going to go away.
Yeah.
So you need to figure out how to
Mm.
address it. I
Mhm.
will share my own perspective on this.
Okay.
In the in the best world, you will have both, right?
Yes.
Both, top quality publication as well as many of them. Minuscule proportion of scholars get to do that, right?
Mhm.
Um, now, so you might have to trade off, and as you trade off,
Yeah.
um, as you're forced to trade off, you will have to keep your own situation, your own, I mean, you have to be
Yeah.
pragmatic.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Security
Yeah.
can be a big need, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so look at your situation,
Mhm.
figure out what is more pragmatic.
Yeah.
All I will say is that um, quality and quantity are, what will I say? These are
Mm.
not quite symmetrically compensatory.
Yeah.
So, in other words, a lot of, uncertain quality
Yeah.
work cannot compensate for high
Yeah.
quality work.
Yeah.
And, but on the other hand, high quality work may
Yeah.
compensate for, you
Yeah.
know, numbers, in some ways. So
Yeah.
that's one major takeaway. And the other
Mm.
major takeaway I will
Yeah.
say, and which I make sure I talk to all my PhD students is
Yeah.
um, that look, in this discipline, you have to figure out who you are working for towards. Okay, no, you
Mhm.
work for your employer, but what you
Yeah.
work towards, and it's really the discipline
Mhm.
that that will reward you.
Mhm.
So as you kind of pace yourself in your profession,
Mhm.
of course, you will have to think about contributing to your employer.
Yeah.
The employer pays
Yeah.
your salary, no questions about that.
Yeah.
But maybe there is a need at some of those quiet moments to ask yourself,
Mm.
how can I balance that dominant perspective,
Mm.
trying to contribute to the discipline as well?
Yeah.
I think that, for new scholars trying to
Yeah.
create that balance,
Yeah.
being a good citizen
Yeah.
versus contributing
Yeah.
to the discipline is really important.
Yeah. 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 Somebody told me recently that in academia there is no ceiling, and sometimes you don't know how far you should go, and there's always anxiousness. Have I done enough?
It's very true, and and that is the bane of academia in some ways,
Yeah.
David. Um, that's both a strength and weakness of academia. One
Yeah.
is keeping up with the Joneses, right? So I
Yeah.
have got a peer who has published 10 FT50s, I have
Yeah.
only 2, so I need
Yeah.
to work
Catch up.
now. And if I don't do that, then am I a failure? That can be
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
Uh, on the other hand,
Yeah.
academia also allows you to set your own goals.
Okay.
There is
Hmm.
no other profession
Mm.
where you really have the freedom, the academic freedom to
Yeah.
pursue questions that you find important and interesting.
Hmm.
And sometimes, and sometimes, adjusting those goals can be
Yeah.
really important. I'll
Yeah.
talk about a conversation I had with one of my ex-PhD students, a fantastic student who works
Okay.
extremely hard, uh,
Mm.
very productive. And we were just talking to him. We were just talking, and we was saying that sometimes he can't, he feels burned out because
Yeah.
he's working on things, and then
Yeah.
one thing led to the other, and then we kind of said that, well,
Yeah.
if you end up working on things that you really like and love and you
Mm.
want to do,
Mm.
you probably will not burn out as. So what I'm trying to say is
Yeah.
that yes, that is true. What you said is true. There is no ceiling.
Yeah.
You can pace it. You can decide
Yeah.
the goals. Yes.
Yeah. 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 Thank you. Do you have any advice to marketing practitioners who are not in academia, but they are really doing a day-to-day marketing for us?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, I kind of look upon that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a favorite topic of mine. I mean, we are academics,
Yeah.
scholars. We do research, and they're practitioners. So each of
Yeah.
us know more about our domain more
Yeah.
than the other domain.
Yeah.
I know more about my domain. They know
Yeah.
more about the practice domain.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the way we can really,
Mm.
suggest or
Yeah.
help or contribute
Yeah.
is by collaborating, right?
Mm. Mm.
And I think, nobody will ever argue that
Mm.
academia industry collaboration is bad. No, I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of desired. It's almost a
Yeah.
moot point. Well,
Yeah.
marketing is a professional discipline.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think then the question can be
Yeah.
how can I, as an academic, help
Yeah.
practitioners, and how can the practitioners help me
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
an academic, as a scholar?
Yeah.
In my own life, a lot of my projects actually have their
Okay.
roots in practice. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, in other words, I have developed those research questions through deep engagement with practice, either through
Mm.
industry workshops that I've been running,
Okay.
attending meetings, consulting projects, site visits. So I have even visited open pit potash mines to
Mm-hmm.
see how General Electric manages their vendor relations in Saskatchewan.
Okay.
So uh, so just going there. So
Nice.
so each of these instances have helped me define my problem.
Mm.
When I am able to define my problem better, it is almost guaranteed
Yeah.
the results will help
Uh-huh.
the industry
Uh-huh.
get better insights and make better decisions. So I'll encourage this quid pro quo.
Uh-huh.
But then, I think our worlds are still different, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
in practice, again, as I said,
Mm-hmm.
the premium is on making decisions, and
Yeah.
sometimes you have to make decisions yesterday.
Yeah.
Academia is a very different. Here, the premium is on understanding
Yeah.
and creating frameworks.
Yeah.
So it's not as much decision focused,
Yeah.
but the collaboration
Yeah.
will bridge these distances. So if I
Yeah.
might say so, I will encourage all practitioners to come,
Yeah.
talk with
Yeah.
us and
Yeah.
give us your time.
Yeah. There's also somewhat of hesitation because as academia, like the professor, they're busy doing research, they want to teach. And a lot of time people from the industry coming in, they might have a very different questions, and sometimes it doesn't really fit into the course syllabus.
Yeah. And I think this is where we miss the ball, David. I think
Yeah.
because not all good questions come well packaged as good
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah.
Sometimes a little bit of engagement is necessary. Remember, what I said is in practice, the premium is on decisions. But maybe if we delve a little deeper into it, decisions that they want to make, maybe
Yeah.
there are things that we need to understand about those that can form a research program,
Yeah.
which may not help
Yeah.
the practitioner right away,
Oh.
because reality is academics will not always have
Yeah.
one answer.
Saurabh, could you please share your perspective on the future of marketing and where it is headed?
Well, wow, that's a big question, right? So, I, the short is who knows? I don't know, but I'll give you a little bit of a perspective as I see it. I mean,
Yeah.
a complete noisy perspective from my side. I mean, I think if we look at the current world,
Yeah.
so there are several things that will stand out. One is there is ever more availability of data,
Yeah.
exponentially increasing computation and processing
Yeah.
abilities, and a social network that magnifies messages instantly.
Yeah.
So if you put all these things together,
Mm-hmm.
you will see, or one would tend to think
Yeah.
that competitors, firms, have very little margins of error. Because if everybody has data, if everybody has processing capabilities,
Yeah.
and if messages gets magnified instantly,
Yeah.
then any error you make gets magnified and can bring it down. So companies have very little margins of error. So that's one kind of thing that might come out.
Yeah.
But this also assumes one thing. This also assumes that customers' behavior will be predictable, because all that data, all that processing is being used to predict certain behavior. Underlying assumption is that these would be predictable.
Yeah.
Okay, but I think human beings may work in different ways. I don't know how it will play out. Maybe um, maybe uh, maybe there might be ways by which this new world, where there are very little margins of error and there is so much presumed predictability,
Yeah.
both the buyers and sellers will edit their decisions in unpredictable ways. So what I'm suggesting is perhaps in a world of presumed predictable outcomes, unpredictability will start having a huge premium.
Yeah.
And if unpredictability starts having
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Human beings are variety seeking. Some of us are a little more
Yeah.
variety seeking than others.
Yeah.
And that's how we get excitement. That's how we kind of,
Yeah.
wake up. And if everything was predictable, it would be a boring world.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe
Yeah.
we'll look for unpredictability. I don't know that. It's reasonable to think that way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
of course, I'm like everyone. I'm waiting to
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
this wonderful new world.
Yeah.
I think this era of massive changes has forced us to put a premium on adaptation. We have to adapt. I mean, we have to embrace change. There's no other way.
Thank you for your time, Saurabh. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, David. Thank you for reaching out, and it was wonderful to talk to you.